Hey everybody, it's Dr. Fitz. I'm going to discuss how to put together your case study report today. First, make sure that you have all the documents that you need, which you can find on our As You Learn site. We're going to talk about how to format your report and what to include in each section. So, the different sections of the ELL case study report are the school context, the classroom environment, the case study student, your recommendations, feedback on the assignment, references, and appendices. I'm going to talk about what to include in sections 1 through 4. Section 5 is just your brief feedback on what you think were challenges and also positive things about this assignment, any suggestions you have for improvement. Your references should include any sources that you cited in the body of your report. Except for the data that you collected, you don't include those in the references. Instead, you include those in the appendices. So your appendices will have your data collection worksheet, your English learner profile, any interviews that you completed, and your formal observation. The format for the paper, I would like for you to have a title page. I would like for you to use a header with your last name and insert the page numbers. If you're not sure how to do a header, please see me and I'll help you with that. Please use 1-inch margins and please double space your paper, or you could use 1.5 is fine. Please use 12-point font throughout the paper and use your headings that we just went over for each section. Each section should have a heading that is centered and bold. So use APA format for formatting your paper. The school context is the first section of the paper and provides an introduction to the school. I would like for you guys to try to get the school context section at a length of around 2 pages. I would like for you guys to please include a description of the school environment, the climate of the school, the demographics of the student body, and the academic achievement. Most important is that you try to interpret the data that you are presenting. You don't want to just present a blob of data, information about the school, otherwise it won't have any meaning. The idea is to provide us with a context for the child that you are studying. And so since the child you are studying is an English learner or a student who is bilingual, I want you to think about how the school environment supports bilingual students and their families. If the school has undergone any significant changes, you should note those. You should certainly describe the ESL program. And again, talk about how the school is working to provide a successful educational climate for culturally and linguistically diverse children. The next section after the school context is the classroom. In this section, you want to give a snapshot of the classroom, and you want to describe the classroom as though you were a visitor and you came in. What would you see? What would you notice on a regular day? How does the teacher group the class for instruction? What kinds of materials are available for the kids to use? So you want to provide a descriptive snapshot of the classroom environment. Not a blow-by-blow description of every single thing in the room, but a snapshot of what would be important. The other thing that you want to include in this section is a description of the instructional strategies that the teacher prefers to use, and talk about those with relationship to what you know about good teaching practices for English language learners. So, what does the teacher do to make her teaching culturally and linguistically relevant? And what did you notice about her instructional strategies that are useful for kids who are trying to learn English as a second language? The next section of the case study will be the student section, and this is where you describe the student, you describe his or her level of language acquisition, you utilize the WIDA standards for that, and also you utilize your own observations. You're going to make assertions, statements about what you believe is most important for us to know about this child, and you're going to use your data that you collected to back up those assertions. So to help you think about this in more depth, I created a handout that I want to go over with you briefly. Okay, and this handout is called Analyzing the Data. It's on our As You Learn site, so make sure that you download it and look it over. So in this section, again, you're going to start out with a description of your case study student and utilize your interview and your English learner profile that you created to help you do that, along with your teacher interview. Next, you're going to come up with some, I call assertions or statements that you would make about the child's academic, social, or linguistic strengths or needs. First of all, you definitely need to describe the child's English language development, and you should use both the test scores if you got them, as well as information based on your observations. Definitely look at the WIDA standards, the WIDA performance definitions, and the can-do descriptors to help you interpret and describe the child's language use. And give examples from your notes. Beyond talking about their language development, what other assertions can you make about the child's academic achievement, or maybe about how they get along with other kids, either other English learners or their English-speaking peers? What do you think how are they doing in terms of their acculturation process? What do you notice in terms of their bilingualism? What do you notice in terms of their learning preferences? Any of those things could be areas that you want to develop assertions about. So those are just some ideas. You may have different ideas. For each assertion that you come up with, you want to give evidence from your data sources, and you want to try to use different data sources. That's called triangulation. When we can provide evidence from more than one source to support an assertion that we're making, it makes that assertion stronger because we saw it in more than one location. Finally, you also want to make connections to what we have read and discussed in class. So think about, what can I apply that relates to this assertion from our class? Here's an example for you, and again, these are just notes, so I would then use these notes to develop an expository paragraphs about this student who I am calling Diana. So I start out with a description of her, and then here's my assertion about Diana, one of my assertions. Doing well in reading is important to Diana. How do I know that? I know that from the teacher interview, I know that from my observations, and I know that from the student interview. So here I put down my notes of where the data is coming from. And you might even want, if you have a lot of observations, you might even want to put the date. But if you only had your formal observation, then it'll be clear where that came from. I also wrote down what I think I might do in terms of developing some connections to the course. So in this case, I might look back at the chapter on biliteracy in the Cloud chapter that we read. Or I might look back and see how personality factors affect English language acquisition, and that might be relevant here. So for this part, to help you guys out, I created an annotated bibliography of the readings that we had throughout the semester, and I just have each of the readings, the citation in APA format, and then the topics that were covered in in each reading. So hopefully that'll be helpful for you. Okay, to wrap it up, what I'd like for you guys to do is please create a Word document and format it correctly using the headings. Take some time to look at the sample school context and classroom sections in the sample case study that I posted on As You Learn, and think about what you think the author did well and what you found it important in that case study. And then spend a few minutes starting to draft your introduction there, starting to draft the school context section of your report. I want you to definitely take some time to start working on the student section of your case study. So write a introduction to the student, make a pseudonym for your student, and then come up with some assertions for the child. If you find it useful, I made an outline format for you guys that you can use. It's just like what I just went over. So what I need for you to upload by the end of this evening is a draft of your report, which is basically just the outline for your report, along with anything you drafted for your introduction section, and then the outline for your student section. You can upload these to As You Learn, or you can email them to me if you cannot upload things to As You Learn still. All right, thanks a lot for your time, and please email me or come by my office if you have any questions.